April 21st. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hernandez. Commissioner Jimenez.
Present.
Vice Chair Hammond.
Here.
Chair Shively.
Present. If we could have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Jimenez.
Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 5, presentation. Seeing none, we can move on to item 6, consent calendar. Planning Commission meetings for April 7th, 2021. And any member of the public wishes to speak on this matter can do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Consent calendar.
Okay.
Anybody have an issue or corrections for Planning Commission meeting minutes for the 7th?
I did want to clarify, these say for April 7th, are we doing the ones, is that the meeting that we got rescheduled to meet today?
That was.
Yes, there's the first two items were continued from the last meeting.
Okay, and we never approved the minutes for the previous one, correct?
Correct, because we didn't have that meeting. That's
Okay.
correct.
They're not listed on the consent calendar for that, those meeting minutes.
There was, wasn't clear, but there was no minute meetings for the last meeting because we continued that meeting. So
Right.
it was the minutes from the prior meeting.
Okay, but it says Planning Commission minutes for
For the
April
April
7,
7th.
2021.
Yes, that is incorrect. Yes.
Okay.
I remember what the date was. It would be for March 24th. Any comments for the meeting minutes for March 24th?
Just to clarify, it's March 17th.
I was wondering, yeah.
17th or 20th? My apologies. 17th?
I'll just say the name. Commissioner Hammond, no comment. There was no corrections.
Thank you. Okay, if we can have a motion for approval for the consent calendar?
Commissioner Jimenez, I move to approve.
Thank you.
I will second it, Commissioner Hammond.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Yes?
Vice Chair Hammond.
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With the vote of 3 yes, this motion passes.
Move item 7. 7A is modification of conditions 21-05034, a request to modify engineering conditions of approval number 7 for minor modifications of 17-05178, conditions use permit 18-05198, and number 13 for tentative parcel map 37742 associated with the construction of a frontage road street improvements for the Plaza de Perris Shopping Center located on the northeast corner of Frontage Road and Nuevo Road. The applicant is Matthew Bush and Nuevo Perris LLC. Is there any ex parte communications?
Well, other than driving in the shopping center, no.
I was just in that shopping center as well.
Yeah, I bet.
I visit frequently as well, so. We can have presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission for having me here tonight. The first item we have before you is the modification of engineering conditions of approval for the Perris Plaza Shopping Center project, and the applicant is Mr. Matthew Bush, who's in attendance in Zoom tonight. Some background information about the Perris Plaza Shopping Center. It was actually entitled in 1992 by the Planning Commission. Later on in 2018, staff actually approved a minor modification which kickstart the development of the shopping center, which included Burlington, Planet Fitness, and other tenants. Later on that year, the Planning Commission approved a master conditional use permit to convert some of the retail pads into drive-through restaurants. And last year, you, the Planning Commission, have approved the tentative parcel map 37742. As a result of the conditional use permit, the tentative parcel map, the city engineer conditioned the developer to improve frontage road with the right to enter into a reimbursement agreement to offset this cost. And here's that portion of frontage road between Barrett Avenue and Nuevo Road. Some of the improvements will include restriping, an acceleration lane, a deceleration lane, also construction of curb gutter and sidewalk. And here are the revised conditions of approval. The applicant reached out to the city engineer to request modification of engineering conditions number 7 and also 13, as shown on the slide. Instead of the developer constructing the improvements and obtaining reimbursement from the city has agreed to build these frontage road improvements as part of its capital improvement plan. In exchange, the developer will provide street improvement plans and also all necessary right-of-way to conduct the work. Overall, the arrangement simplifies the construction of frontage road improvements as the city has greater control of managing the construction schedule and eliminates the need for a reimbursement agreement. Essentially, it will expedite the process and also simplify the process not only for the developer but also the city. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 21-05 approving modification of conditions 21-05034 to modify engineering condition approval number 7 for minor modification 17-05178 and engineering condition of approval number 13 for tentative parcel map 37742. So I'm here to answer any questions for this item, and also the applicant Matthew Bush is also in attendance in Zoom tonight.
Thank you. Could you please go back one slide? Thank you. Do you have any questions for staff?
Go ahead.
Commissioner Hammond?
Go ahead.
So is this something that we've seen in the past where we have an agreement and there's an agreement that they'll get reimbursed and then we switch? Is this common for us to do the switch, or?
Good evening, Chairman Shively, members of the commission. Commissioner Jimenez, not to my knowledge, not since I've been here, but it is customary that, because of the public improvements, sometimes city takes over, and we kind of put it together with some other improvements that we have, throughout the city, and do it all under one contract.
Okay, it just made a little bit more sense where, for me, it just made more sense for the city to do it, and, it is kind of city streets than to have somebody else do it and then reimburse them. I feel like there would be so much more paperwork, right? Is that something we're also trying to avoid? Is this something we want to include in the future for future projects maybe, instead of having to do it this way?
Well, in this instance, I guess we thought that it would be, more beneficial. Otherwise, typically, yes, developers, they're responsible to do their frontage improvements, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, just one question, and I understand because I used to work for government, trust me. My only thing is that, yes, it's written out here in engineering conditions, But is there going to be some agreement, written agreement? Because you say it's in your capital cost budget, but it's not mentioned here. But the city, if the city's going to take it over, are you going to have a developmental agreement or some kind of written agreement saying this, as part of the normal budget of the city, this is going to be something that you do because it has to be factored into your budget, right? So assuming this is something, I'm going way beyond planning commission, but if you're going to say the city's going to do it, then it's the city cost, right? And if that's the case, they're going to reimburse you. That's the plan, to reimburse you for that. But is this written here, or is this just something we're assuming that's going to happen here? So is there some kind of agreement between the city's going to do that's beyond us? It goes to simply the council? Where does this take place?
I think the center improvements here were already budgeted for
In the city
for the
capital
city
cost,
budget,
okay.
correct. Frontage road improvements, correct. And the developer was conditioned to provide it.
Right.
And then city to reimburse, correct.
Okay, but on here, we're saying the city's going to do it, so we don't need to mention that it's coming? Okay.
No, that's not part of your purview,
Okay,
that's
that's what I was
not
about
part
to
of
say.
your control. So right now, your task here is merely to remove this condition requiring them to do the work, so, because the city wants to do it, or has determined that it's the best way to get the work done.
So there has been some discussion with the applicant and the city council members to do this.
Yeah, because it is unusual. But the only reason I was saying that is not to usurp the ones that have fiduciary responsibility. The council is just, I'm just saying the city agrees to do it, but it would have to be part of the city's taking it on. We're just saying it's part of it. Something already they have written into their budget, but we're just saying, yes, the city's is planning to do it, but to be reimbursed later. So I don't know if I saw that. I think that was part of the proposal here, the idea to do that, but I was just curious as to where that was coming from. Because generally in the city budget, you have to have everything laid out in the city budget.
Yeah, reimbursement has been
Yeah.
removed, and they're paying
So
developers
you're paying,
for
yeah.
the cost to
Yeah.
engineer the work.
Now, if this was normally part of what the city was planning to do, that's something different, right? So I'm going to assume that was part of the budget for the city as something at another level. So you see where I don't want to go with this, right? So I'm just kind of staying out of my old city mindset, because everything has to be written down in the city budget. So, okay, so if that was part of the idea to begin with, it was just a matter of who was going to do it, really, and whether they did it faster or we did it faster. Okay, especially that particular stretch between Barrett and there is pretty heavy duty, and we took away the left turn there that we used to turn there, so you have to go all the way around and come around. So it makes a lot of sense that there should have to be repairs there, and whatever future development. Okay, just getting it straight. Okay. That was it.
All right, thank you, sir. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and staff. I don't know that I have much to say other than this is just something that will help streamline the process. Sorry, can you hear me? I see some hands up.
We can.
Okay.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Matthew Bush with Nuevo Perris LLC.
Thanks, sir.
Sorry for skipping that step. I don't have much to present other than this is just something that we believe help streamline the process. We think it's a net for the city, since the city was already going to pay for the improvements via reimbursement. This just gets the city the ability to get everything they want when they want it.
Okay, thank you.
And so we came up with this idea. And I'm also happy to hear that the chair and vice chair and planning commissioner present are shoppers of the shopping center. So happy that we can provide that for you.
Thank you. Commissioners, have any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you, sir. Any
you.
member of the public wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, go ahead and close public comment and bring it to the commissioners for discussion. Commissioner Jimenez?
I think my questions were answered. I know that the city was planning to pay for it up front or reimburse.
First.
So instead of having more paperwork, I'm assuming it's just less paperwork in the background now to have to do something that they were planning on doing anyways. So that was clarified.
Hammond?
Yeah, absolutely no problem. And the only reason for the question was more from the city end, but that's not even anything negative. They have an excellent shopping center. I don't think we frequent it quite a bit. We're all guilty. And and I've probably seen you guys for several years, so I follow you quite a bit. But I think this really upgrade to that area, and I think anything that can be improvement, especially on that street and that turn in from there, prior to any developments that are going to be north of there, it's going to be helpful. It just expedites the process if the city has the ability to do it. It's already in their budget, so it's not a problem, really. It really was a no-brainer, to tell you the truth. But we just have to question something because we're a planning commission. Okay? We don't. Well, what are we doing up here? Right? So, yeah, I'm fine.
Yep. My questions were answered, with, whether discussion was with the upper, so I don't have any concerns with it. If we can, no further discussion, if we can have a motion.
Commissioner Hammond, say it loud. I'm motioning.
Thanks, sir.
Commissioner Jimenez, I second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to clarify the motion, that's motion to adopt the resolution approving
Yeah.
the modification?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 3 yes, this motion passes.
Item 7B, Development Plan Review, DPR 19-00005, a proposal to construct a two-story, 25,163 square foot warehouse building on a .78 acre vacant lot located at Harley Knox Boulevard between Patterson Avenue and Nevada Avenue within the general industrial zone of the Perris Valley Commerce Center specific plan. Applicant is Jonathan L. Zane and Zane Architecture. We have any ex parte communications?
As usual, just driving by more than once this location, and obviously no one to talk to, but just driving by.
I drove by, but not knowing that this was
Project.
present yet. So it's an area that I drive through regularly.
Thank you. Can you have a presentation, please?
So, Mr. Chairman, the next item we have before you is the Casablanca Warehouse Project. And before I start my presentation, I would like to let the commission know that the applicant intends to use this as a cultivation warehouse. However, they haven't submitted a cultivation application as of yet. Okay. So currently, the project site is currently vacant along Harley Knox Boulevard between Patterson Avenue and Nevada Avenue, surrounded by industrial to the north, a High Seasons dispensary to the west, and Public Works Yard to the east, and vacant land to the south. Currently, it's zoned general industrial and also zoned general industrial to the north, east, south, and west. General industrial allows warehousing and also cultivation buildings. Here's a view north of the site, which is just across Harley Knox Boulevard. And here is looking towards the west, which pretty much shows High Seasons dispensary. Here's looking south, and here's looking east towards the Public Works Yard. So currently, the applicant is intending to have one point of access along Harley Knox Boulevard and proposes to build 25,163 square foot two-story warehouse building on 0.78 acres. The applicant also intends to have 24 standard parking stalls, and 15% of the site will be dedicated to landscaping. Please also note that the project will not be used for large truck access and will not have high dock doors. However, there is one roll-up door proposed for small van deliveries. So City of Perris staff has reviewed the project with the Perris Commerce Center specific plan standards and meets the lot coverage, the building size, the structure height, and the front, side, and rear setbacks Also, we reviewed it with the 19.69 parking standards, and it complies with the parking. However, there is a parking concern from staff. The building is designed for a traditional warehouse, and it kind of mimics or simulates a business park office building. And the future, the tenant or owner may contemplate to use the building for a business park use, which is a higher intensity use. Typically, office area has a lot more people generated than warehousing, which means more people and more need for parking. The warehouse building is not parked for a higher intensity land use such as a business park use. However, staff condition, which is planning condition number 40, that prior to issuance of building permit, the property owner shall record a covenant notifying future tenants and property owners that additional off-site parking will be required for non-warehouse-based cultivation land uses. Now here are some of the building elevations. We have some gray tones, and I know Commissioner Jimenez likes the gray tones. And I worked specifically with the architect, which he did a good job. We went through a couple of redesigns with this building. They're proposing, like ledgestone veneer, gray, iron gray, and blue color, and also some metal and stucco. And this is pretty much the 3D rendering elevation. And we also have the samples here that Ryan is also passing over for the commissioner to feel how the material will feel. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 21-4, finding that the proposed project is categorically exempt per SEQA under a Class 32 infill development exemption, and approve Development Plan Review 19-0005 to construct a two-story, 25,163 square foot warehouse building on 0.78 acre vacant land located along Harley Knox, subject based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. So this concludes my presentation for this project. I'm here to answer any questions. Also, the applicant's representative, Arthur Strickler, is here to answer any questions that you might have for him.
Thank you. Questions for staff?
Oh, did you see this? Sorry.
Commissioner Jimenez, you showing them, hiding the good stuff.
It's all gonna end up down here anyway.
Sitting so far away, I have to get him. Okay. Liz, you?
Can you bring the slide to the site plan, please? Thank you. If this is going to be zoned, or would everybody use for a warehouse, how many parking spaces is it lacking?
Currently, as proposed, they're actually meeting the standards. Let me find that slide, Commissioner Shively. So on the table number 2, they're pretty much requiring what the code requires for a typical warehouse and the amount of square footage for office, which is 200 square feet. So the spaces required are 24, and they're providing 24.
But if they were to change it to a different occupancy, then there would be an issue.
Yes, that's correct. So typically, what we're trying to look out for is that the whole building gets converted into an office, which means typically office square footage has a lot more people per square feet rather than a warehouse. Warehouse typically has like a lot of storage. And if there's a lot more people, then it would require a higher amount of parking. And what we're trying to do is avoid having a parking impact to the site and having them park on the street. So that's why we included that condition of approval to record a covenant for that parking covenant.
Any further questions for staff?
Thank you. You know I love the colors.
Yeah.
So the roll-up door would be, it looks like it's glass on the far right, because I saw that it has elevated, that's like the van dock area
Yeah.
on the plan, so that would be a
That's
roll-up
it.
door?
That's correct. So as you could see by this slide, it's going to be on the bottom right-hand corner, and it does have some type of glass to it. just to make it look more aesthetically pleasing and stuff. So as mentioned earlier in my presentation, that's going to be a roll-up door that's going to be used for, small van deliveries.
I like how it's glass and not your typical roll-up door. I am a little bit concerned about the parking, based on the intended use, just because a lot of us have driven down Ryder, and I think they have a similar issue at that dispensary. So I've been hit almost every time I drive by there. So just the concern for enough parking space and people crossing the street. So safety for pedestrians, safety for people driving by. So that is really my only concern. And I think I saw noted that there was going to be an outside barbecue area with a trellis or something, and it was going to be notated on the plans as something like a patio or something, and I didn't see it notated on the plans.
Yeah, so we actually condition even though they're not required to provide some type of shaded or employee amenity, we actually condition the project prior to building permit issuance that we need to look at those elevations. So as of right now, they are going to propose a trellis. I spoke to the applicant, he was fine with it. And also that they were going to provide some type of picnic bench with seating. So yes, it's not shown on here, but it will be implemented during building plan check.
Oh, okay. That's what I noticed. I was going to go through the planning department, so you were still going to follow up. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yes, thank you. We see you a second time, right? I think you covered all the bases in this one, which is unusual because I don't have. I think we argued enough to where you put just about everything in there. The only point, and I think it was COA number 38, they talked about a decorative trellis. It's just it wasn't showing. So I guess when we get to develop it, about where would that be considered on this particular site plan? Because I don't know where you would do it. That's number one point. I think two, I think you mentioned the point that I read earlier about if this were, and we didn't know it was going to be that. I kind of assumed it would be that kind of operation. But that change, I don't think because of the airport vicinity, you can really have an intensity of office space, and I don't think you can really almost presume you're not going to have a high level of intensity in there. So I don't think that's really an issue. I think the things were covered, the property maintenance, all the other things. There is an elevator here, and I think it was mentioned, but I think one of the things about it would be nice to see is not only do you have ADA compliance in terms of parking, but also ADA compliance in terms of elevator and building code. Would be nice to have that sentence there, because you have to do it. I don't like assuming things. I don't want to assume our public works is going to deal with it because they generally don't do it. If it's a building and safety issue, it's also an issue of you want ADA number one and everyone else after that, because they'll find the you know what out of you. Okay, so it's best to have that covered, and it's just one of those things where we're making the assumption that ADA is also going to be covered with any elevator. It's not a freight elevator. It's a public elevator. It's not a public elevator. They're walking out the street, or is it? And just employee uses, or they're using it, and never really has not been specified. I don't think at all in any of these is who's really going to be using it. Well, I'm assuming it's employees. Okay, and are they going to put documents and things on there like you do a freight elevator, and there's a different requirement for that than passengers, and there's all kinds of measurements that you have to do when you have people going on an elevator as opposed to a freight elevator. Trust me, there is. Been out with one of the coordinators in the entire city of LA. I was out with them, and they measure everything. I mean, pressure, everything. So I'm just wondering, that would be the only thing in terms of why we did cover it, but it's kind of, and it's an important thing because you get stuck on it. So it has to meet fire safety, it has to meet all the other things, but that's the one thing. But I think I like the fact that it's 24-foot access. I'm not really, I think the layout is good because it's in the back and it's not frontage, so I think that makes an advantage there. Of course, there is a walkway, I'm assuming, on this map around it. I think it's a concrete paved walkway around the side. Is that what we're looking at? Because I can't see it on this map. But there's a walkway all around the facility, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
There is.
because we had that issue in the previous one. But I think you covered the basis on this, and hopefully the landscaping is. See, even got her silent, so we're okay. So I'm good. I think I have, those are all the questions. That's just not a major point. It's just one of those things that I'm picky about. But if you go down Harley Knox and you have trucks and everything else there, that right in, right turn is going to be really important because because the street is done so well, and you have multiple lanes. In the past, you're taking your life in your hands if you turn right, but now it's been done so well that it's just a matter of turning right in, and everything is right in, right out. Right? So it's not really that much of an issue. I do like the layout here, and I just think that if I didn't know it was cultivation, it's just one of those things. If it's expanded in the future, we have to. I'm not sure where we would have spaces because you can't do it off site. So ultimately, you have the detention basin in the front. You can't really take away from that. Am I looking? If you look at the site plan, that's the trash bin in the right-hand corner, northeast corner? Okay. So they would just come in, and we're assuming that they're coming in and out of that location. So they don't have to go all the way under the property, so it's right there.
It's next to the drive to the garage door.
Yes, that's correct.
By the garage door on the left side?
Yeah, on
Middle,
the left-hand side.
middle of the parking left side.
Okay, that little shaped building on the side. Okay. All right, now I get where it's at. Okay.
I know we're not approving this for a dispensary, and the application is actually for the warehouse space. Question is, does it have enough parking for the dispensary? Will it have enough parking for the dispensary?
Yeah, there's enough parking, not for the dispensary, but for a cultivation facility.
Okay.
Yeah, dispensary would not meet the parking requirement, I don't believe.
Cultivation. Okay.
Another quick question. Nathan, I noticed that there's only one all-gender bathroom. It's way on the other side of where the break room is and the office is. Is there a reason for that? I'm just thinking with plumbing and all, you might want to keep it all kind of, or, the break room closer to, not right next to or inside the break room, but I mean closer access. And I'm thinking about, ADA access and all. I mean, they don't want to have to wheel across or walk away across the.
Yeah, at this point, it's just very conceptual. There
Okay.
would be requirements through the building department, probably be more than one restroom in the building.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next. Thank you.
I think the unfair thing is they give us this picture of Outback Steakhouse, and now we're getting all excited, and we're not going to have one.
No, I'm hungry.
That was not, okay. I'm done. So,
Does the applicant wish to make a presentation at this time?
Arthur Strickler from Jonathan Zane Architecture. Good evening, everybody. We're just happy to be here in front of the Planning Commission again and looking forward to having a nice project.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Oh, I guess I will point out, Mr. Hammond, you asked about where that trellis cover would be. If you notice on the site plan, there's a half circle kind of in front of the building. That was the general location of our proposed kind of picnic area for anybody on site.
It's so close to the building.
Yeah, it's pretty much right in the middle of the building, so.
Entryway.
Yeah, it'll be a nice little entry.
yeah, thank you. Now I get it.
Thank you.
Question for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Any member of public wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we're going to close public comment and bring it to the commissioners for discussion. Commissioner Jimenez?
I really appreciate that the landscaping is 15% and there's beautiful landscaping. I really appreciate that there's going to be an outside break area for employees, even though it's not required. They went above and beyond and will be providing that. Love the colors, love the architecture, really like that the roll-up door is, resembles or matches the rest of the building. It's not something that really stands out. The door for the trash enclosure also seemed to have details that really go with the building. And I know that when they include that trellis and everything for the staff, it won't take away from the building, but enhance it.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, and keeping in line with the specific plan and the Perris Valley thing, I think this is keeping in par with the architecture and the design, and it's well done. I don't have any complaints about that at all. So it's apportioned right, the building's in the back, and I like that as opposed to taking up a lot of space in the front. It's set back. And the fact that you're going to have a wrought iron fence on the side, which is you have to do, but sorry. So I appreciate that, and then the color too, because I need it. Yeah. The only drawback is he hands this thing with an Outback steak on it. You know, if you got any ideas, we'll be more than happy to discuss that one. But other than that, how could you do that to us? But other than that, we're fine. I'm fine.
Thank you. I do really appreciate the architecture. The architecture is good, exceeding the kind of the standards that's along Harley Knox very much. I don't have any concerns. The only concerns I have is in the future with any parking that there may be. But they definitely sound like they're working with staff to accommodate all staff needs. So I don't have any issues with it. So any further discussions? Nope. If we can have a motion to adopt resolution number 21-4 and approving development plan review 19-00005. Got a motion
Oh,
from
sorry, Commissioner Hammond.
Vice Chair Hammond and a second from Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner or Vice Chair Hammond,
It's okay. Yes, doesn't matter.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
The vote of 3 yes, this motion passes.
Moving on to item 7C, intention to abate a public nuisance in the city of Perris located at 565 Wigwam Drive, APN 326-212-016. This intention is to abate, is to demand the Harry Lee Weather property owner abate and or remediate a public nuisance related to the property maintenance under the Perris Municipal Code, PMC 7.06.05, Section 5A and 5B, and PMC 7.04.020.
Staff is asking that, is pulling this item at the request of the code enforcement staff, so.
Thank you. No motion or vote needs to be done on this one. Thank you.
No, this will be renoticed. This is not a continuation, so there's no action that's necessary.
You can just move on to the next item.
Yep. Item 7D, Development Plan Review DPR 20-00018, a proposal to construct a 7,064 square foot O'Reilly Auto Parts located along the easterly frontage of Perris Boulevard and south of Ramona Expressway within the Expressway Shopping Center. Applicant is Doug Clapperich, Tate Associates. Any ex parte communications?
Drive by there all the time. I mean, that's where I usually end up. I just drove by there today to pick up food for my girls.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, same thing. I drove and actually sat by right in front of the spot, so just observe it.
I'm aware of the location of the project. Your presentation, please.
Good evening, Chair and members of Planning Commission. I will be presenting Development Plan Review 20-00018, which is a proposal to construct a 7,064 square foot auto parts retail store for O'Reilly Auto Parts on 0.74 acres of a vacant site located within an existing shopping center, which is generally located at the southeast corner of North Perris Boulevard and Ramona Expressway, and is located within the Perris Valley Commerce Specific Plan. The applicant is Doug Claperick, and he is here via Zoom. Taking a look at the zoning plan designation as well as a vicinity map, this is zoned within the Perris Valley Commerce Specific Plan, and it is zoned for commercial. There's commercial uses for an existing shopping center in the general area. There is an existing industrial building to the west, as well as existing residential to the east. Taking a little bit of a closer look at the project site itself, it is located within an existing shopping center. There is existing improvements along Perris Boulevard for landscaping as well as a sidewalk. There is an existing driveway approach entry into the shopping center to the south, and there's parking on 3 sides of the project site. This is actually taking a look from the south looking to the north. This kind of gives you an idea. In the foreground, this is the drive entry into the site, and you can see the parking that's right in front of the site. This is standing on the site looking to the east. This is seeing the existing buildings that are within that shopping center. This is standing on the site looking towards the north. This would be the intersection of Ramona Expressway and North Perris Boulevard. And as you can see, there's existing parking spaces here. And here's taking a look from the site to the west. This is looking towards North Perris Boulevard with the existing landscaping as well as the sidewalk. Taking a look at the site plan and the conceptual landscaping, it's 7,064 square feet of commercial area. There's 27 standard parking stalls, with 2 of them being handicap and 3 of those being for EV. There's 1 existing driveway entry along North Perris to the south. All the drainage is going to be chambering underground, so there's no swales or basins on the site. And they exceed the landscaping by additional 8%. 10% is required, so they have 18% with a total of 5,683 square feet of landscaping. I went through here and just kind of highlighted in green the areas of landscaping so you can see a general idea of where it's focused on the site. Staff reviewed it with the development standards of the commercial within the PVCC. It meets everything for lot coverage, FAR, building height, and all the setbacks. Taking a look at the standards for the parking, it's 7,064 square feet. The ratio is 1 space per 250 square feet. They are required to have 28 parking spaces with this requirement. They are proposing 27 spaces, so they are 1 short. Staff took a look into this, and the overall shopping center has 578 parking spaces, and they're only conditioned to have 469. So with that being in mind, with additional parking, the parking is considered adequate. Here's some elevations. I did pass out a board to Commissioner Hammond, and he can pass it around if you haven't already seen it. North would be the loading doors, you can see that. South would be the main entry into the facility. East would be where the trellises are integrated with additional landscaping in that area. And west would be the elevation facing North Perris Boulevard. Overall, staff is recommending to the Planning Commission to adopt resolution number 21-06, finding the project category exempt from CEQA under section 15332 for a class 32 infill development, and approving development plan review 20-00018 to construct a 7,064 square foot single tenant retail building located on 0.74 acres along the east frontage of North Perris Boulevard, roughly 600 feet south of the intersection of North Perris Boulevard and Ramona Expressway, and subject to the conditions of approval. Once again, the applicant is in the Zoom meeting, so he can speak if needed. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Can you go back to the, where it has elevations, where it's the north side, south side? So the west side is what would be facing Perris?
North Perris, yes.
So the east side would be facing the buildings in the back?
Correct.
So it's gonna have signs on 3 of the sides?
Correct.
Okay. I love the extra landscaping. The colors are really not my favorite, but in looking at the buildings that are there, it kind of goes with what's there already. Those are the colors of that shopping center. Are these colors are they exactly matched, or are they similar?
They're slightly different, but they are in the same general scheme.
Okay. Yeah, they are. I mean, I was just there today, so. And I drive by there all the time. So, yeah, the colors I'm not thrilled with, but they are what's aligned with what's already there in that shopping center. And I guess that's it. I mean, I really appreciate the extra landscaping, and I understand why those colors were chosen.
Yeah, it's not much to add. I've looked at the site. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, originally this was going to be either a Popeyes or a Wiener Schnitzel, and neither one of them did anything on this site. That tells you how many years back that was. But that pad has been vacant for some time. So I wasn't sure what was going to be proposed there. And basically no questions. I think it's what you see on the sheet may not match completely because I don't think it's that bright a red
No, it's
on
an
there, but
orange.
it's, you know,
Oh.
it matches kind of the building over there in that area. So I don't really have any. I think you covered all the other stuff that usually gets you guys on public works and property maintenance and all the other things, and hopefully they'll start sticking to that. You know, but other than that, this is the PVCC area, right?
Correct.
So it's commercial zoning, so you don't have any of those issues with that. So other than that, basically I have no questions for staff, which is unbelievable, but I don't have any for you.
Oh.
But letting you off the hook, Ryan. So
Question for staff is the red, red on top, is that considered would that be considered part of signage?
No, that wouldn't be. That's just a color scheme. It's how we would review it.
I'm trying to remember if that red is part of O'Reilly's,
Theme, color schemes.
if it's part of their concepts or not. Okay, thank you.
Oh, I see what you're asking. So is that red? Because when I'm looking at the color schemes, is that red that looks really red? Is that the upper right-hand corner red here? So it wouldn't be as bright. And then the one on the outer parts of where the signage is, it would be that middle color, right?
So this is the color of the
Yeah.
color of the columns, this is the base of the building, and this is probably the color of
Of where the sign is.
signage maybe?
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't have any further questions for staff. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation at this time?
No, I just wanted to thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to building this O'Reilly out there.
All right, thank you. Any questions for applicant, Commissioner Jimenez? Commissioner Hammond?
Mr. Chair, before we proceed, I would ask that the applicant identify himself for the record.
I'm sorry, yes, please. I see his name up here, that's why.
Oh, I do apologize about that. My name's Robert McClellan. I'm here on behalf of Tate and Associates.
Thank you. Robert, I have one question for you. On your board here, you have 3 stucco samples, one with the drive-it color match, but you got 3 different textures. Are you going to match one type of texture throughout the building, or are you going to have 3 different textures?
Let's see here. I would probably have to get back to you on that and verify with our architect, but I assume that they would blend those together. But I can confirm and we can get back to you through Ryan.
Okay. If I would have a choice, I would go with your filled stucco, show your soft tan, which is a smoother finish than your rough texture ones. So, I don't have any further questions for staff. Or, excuse me, further questions for the applicant? None? Thank you, sir. Any member of public wishes to speak on this matter may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it to the commissions for discussions. Commissioner Jimenez?
I'm just happy that something is getting built over there, especially something that looks very nice. I know the color scheme is not what I would prefer, but it's very aligned to what's there. So it's a better fit than going rogue and picking different colors. That area really needs a little facelift, especially with the landscaping, because during summertime it feels very, very hot, and just you could see the glare from the black concrete. So I appreciate the huge facelift that's going to give to that area, and hopefully that'll continue to expand once there's more movement in that area. I do like the elevations. I like the trellis that is up on the side, so it's not just a square block building. It has a nice architecture to it.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, I agree. There's no anything on this one. I think it's pretty much cut and dry, very well done. If I had to give awards out, it would be to the one who owns that entire property, because it's been renovated. If you saw it before, you'd understand. It's like, if you say the 70s, it looked like the 70s. I don't even want to go that low. It might have been the 80s, but it looked like that decade. So it really was upgraded with parking and everything else, and this just adds to that enhancement. And the paint, everything was done. I got to give it real credit to the overall scheme, the whole entire, and this will just add to it. And the fact that whether it's 1 or 2 spaces, there's plenty of parking spaces in that vicinity, so that's not really an issue for that one. So I think that if you look at the color scheme here and you look at that, I can see what you're saying, because this is really bright on that, but it's more toned down if you look on that. So I guess what you're referring to, the tan is one thing, but really, really bright red versus that toned down color that's on there makes more sense, yeah. But either way, that's just on the edges. That's not really. So we appreciate this project, and that's about. They covered all the bases. Of course, I looked at all the other things, and the maintenance, especially on Perris Boulevard, the maintenance of property is really an issue. Okay, really, and I won't name businesses that I could complain about today because I don't want to get them in trouble. But there are some real low maintenance mindsets on your main drag, as we say. So that's really. But anyway, that's it. There's no real issue.
Thank you. So my only concern was with the red, and normally colors of red and blues fade very fast, but this is probably an integrated color from Drive-It. It's not the bright reds that fade a lot. It will fade, but slowly. So that was a concern of mine, and it seems to be addressed. The other issues with the one short parking spot, but we're overcompensated on the parking, so that's not an issue. So I don't see any issues with this project at all. It's going to be used through, I don't think there's an area for a auto parts store around there. So slowly, I think it's not directly close to the northeast residents, but it's starting to assist them with getting some more amenities out there to go shopping for. So I don't have any issues with it. I'm pretty content with what it's going to be. So if I can have any further discussions, if I can have a motion to approve development plan review DPR 20-00018. Excuse me, and adopt resolution 20-06.
Okay. Jimenez, motion to approve.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman Hammond to second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 3 yes, this motion passes.
No items for number 8. If we can go to item 9, public comments. Anybody that wishes to address the planning commission regarding any items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, hearing none, going to close public comment and bring it to item 10, commissioner announcements. Commissioner Jimenez.
I just really want to thank staff for really paying attention to our comments, and I think our preferences that we have for the city is not our preferences, it's the preferences that we hear out in the community and kind of what we want to represent. So I really, really appreciate that staff did that. I mean, we collapsed 2 meetings into one, and we're still done pretty early. I can't believe it, just because, I feel like everybody's kind of aligning finally to the point where we have our standards, we have our expectations, and that's what we're sticking to. I appreciate the staff. I know it takes a lot more legwork in the background to make sure that things are up to our expectations. Other than that, I stopped by the library just because I was being nosy to see if it was open. And it was, let me rephrase that. We're doing a scavenger hunt at our school. And one of the things you had to do was check in at the library. So because I was going to be out here, I went and checked in. So I checked it out. They're going to have a Dia de los Niños celebration on April 30th from 2 to 5. And they're also going to start their summer reading program starting on June 14th. My kids used to love doing that when they were a lot younger. So just, our Perris Library is back in action, and they're ready to serve.
Thank you. Commissioner Hammond?
Okay, I'll try to keep it under 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. Instead of wake them up, wait a minute. I want one request, and for a future session, because I wasn't going to discuss it, it has to be agendized. It is not it is a major concern, only in the sense of it deals with property maintenance. I'd like to at least agendize at least a discussion. The parkway issue on streets, residential areas for future projects and near to future projects, in terms of who maintains these, is completely blown out of proportion. We have no clue who's supposed to do these. And developer builds a project that's stripped between the wall and just before the sidewalk. Who's supposed to maintain this in any part of the communities? HOA might be easy up there up north. HOA down south. We don't have that. You got who's supposed to cut this, who's supposed to do that. And that is, if you look down 8th Street, major issue. Weeds grow all over there, and the property owner says, that's city. Or really, is it the city's responsibility? West side of town, you have this wall, and you have this area, this space, weeds grow up, and then the sidewalk is. Now, who's responsible for the weeds? Is there a developmental agreement? Is the city public works, who's overtaxed, they'll say, can't get to it? This is a citywide issue. Hopefully, I have to bring it up to the next level. But I'm bringing it up here now because what is the requirements, or what is the city working on in terms of that space? And it's an engineering question, between the sidewalk and sometimes a wall that's for a community. There's many examples of that, and Civic Communities is one of them. But the idea is that you'll have that space in between, and then we're never really sure, because residents ask this question all the time. If you have parkways, one of the reasons in the past council didn't want to do it, they were hesitant because who's going to maintain it? That kind of dropped the ball on that. We've approved things currently that have parkways there, and then, is it really written out as to who's going to be responsible? If an HOA is going to do it, then we should say the HOA is going to be with all that maintenance and all that. But if you don't have an HOA, what happens? Public Works is going to do it? Yeah. Okay. Convince me. So that's one of those issues. It's just a clarification of who's responsible. It's going to be written into future agreements, because you have a lot of housing projects coming up. That area needs to be determined so we can tell residents as a commission, it is a commission issue, who is supposed to be responsible. Is this written into their COA that they will be maintaining this for 1 year, 2 years, or not at all? Or does the city take it over? It's not necessarily annexed, because the lighting is, all the other districts, but maintenance of that area from the sidewalk there is one of those questions I think it just needs to be answered for a future date. I know we can't do it tonight, but I just want to bring that up as a small issue, but maybe just a clarification from staff as to who's going to do that. And I think it might be beneficial. You live in one community, you live in another community, I live in another community. We get asked questions, guys. And you look at it and you say, man, I want to go do it myself. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take a week whack and do it. But, sometimes you have long stretches in areas. So that's kind of a maintenance issue, and you want a beautification of the city. Perris Boulevard, you have some areas, some of them do a good job, some of them just, after a while, you see the sidewalk and it's just like a weed and cactus growth. And you'll have the graffiti on the wall on a side wall. Well, if the city helps put up the wall, is the city responsible for it in the future, or is it the person's living there? If it's a city responsibility, that's one thing, but that clarifications for residents, not just us, would be nice to know in the future. And I think you may be working on that, or maybe something they've been talking about, but I just have to bring it up because I see it all the time. And you see it all the time, and we drive these streets, so that's a clarification for the future, and I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't an issue. But we just so we clear in our minds as to that little space. Sometimes it's around mailboxes and right over that area. Sometimes it's done, sometimes it isn't done. So that would be nice to know and have some clarity on that, so we can let people know in this public meeting. People will understand who's responsible, even for future projects. That may not have HOAs, but it really is important, because that messes your city up. You have weeds growing all in that area. You take care of the lawn here, that area is all weeded. So my responsibility is all the way to the street. No, it's the city sidewalk. Well, like LA is giving the sidewalks off to their people. But is it that who's responsible in the ordinance, or is it some kind of thing? That would be good to know. Um, Other than that, I think we've got a lot of things that I'm really happy to see in Paris. Your Getz Road is widening. Even there's some of the developments along Paris Boulevard. I think they're getting ready to build over by the old Walmart. So we're seeing things happening. Got a lot of good compliments about Chick-fil-A. I've been about 4 times. It should be. And the lines have kind of gone down to reality, but they're in and out of there. AT&T or their dental offices. People say, why would you put that there? There's a lot of cars over there. So that AT&T and their dental office have brought in that other's perspective, Chick-fil-A, and so it kind of feeds off each other, and it's a well-done thing. And so a lot of good things happening despite that. The Placentia overpass is still doing that. So it's really good. Good to see our engineers working here. But if you could answer that question, and if you have to bring somebody, I hate to pick on code enforcement, but if we have to bring them in here to discuss that, it would be really good to find out some issues, because I could just see what they're going to say now, because they're going to be humming. They're not going to be expecting this one, because this is out of left field. But it is a issue for this here, because we vote on these things, and we vote on parkways, and we vote on who's the trees going in there, but who's going to maintain those areas, current and past, and what do they do? Who do we call? Okay, so that would be very important. It'd be helpful, beneficial. Okay.
Yes, we'd be happy to do
Okay.
a presentation on that, and it would help us, again,
Yeah.
to identify what your expectations are so that we can
Appreciate it.
include them in future projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
All yours.
Thank you. Mine is short, not as long as Hammond's. He did keep it under.
Hey, it's under 2 hours. What do you mean?
Thankful. So I do appreciate the quickness and the amount of projects that are coming through. It seem to be picking up a lot more. But I do appreciate the staff's ability to listen to our request and get it to the applicant before it gets to us, because now we kind of tear it apart sometimes. Sometimes feel bad about it, but that's kind of our job sometimes. If we don't like something and don't think it's a fit for the city, then that's what we need to do. But I do agree with Hammond. That would be great if we can get that on the agenda item for that discussion. And that's basically all I got. So thank you. If we can move to item 11, the Director of Development Services reports.
Thank you, Chairman Shively. And I think Ryan Griffith appreciates that you did pepper him with a lot of questions. The last few people who've sat there have moved on, and Ryan has stuck around, so I think he appreciates that.
Need to open up the
just
can on them.
for some additional update for you, if you didn't know already, the 3 of the seats for the Planning Commission is going to expire on June 30th. So they flew the position as of last Friday evening, I believe. So there's 3 positions available, and so there's 3 of you, and I don't want to mention anybody's name here, but 3 of you. Well, if you want to continue on, we need to apply, and there's a deadline date for that. I believe there's a 30-day period for the application process. And that right now the anticipated hearing date is the first council meeting in June is the anticipated date. So just for your information and for your knowledge as you kind of prepare for it. The second is we do plan to have the first meeting in May. We're working on the housing element, safety element, environmental justice. We just want to give you a progress report. So that's the plan for now. We're hopefully making enough progress so that we'll get a report and give you some updates. I don't know if the report will be done, but we just need to make some progress because we want to take at least a draft report to the council soon, but we want to just bring it to you and tell you what's going on before we do that. But ultimately, that's just to inform the Planning Commission and the council, because we still have to work through this document. But just want to give you the progress of what's going on and what you should anticipate for. And that's it for now. I don't have any further feedback. Maybe our director here might have some additional feedback for you.
You may have, I don't know if you watched the last council meeting or not, but an issue the council members will have asked us to look into fencing around private residential lots. And so that may be something that's coming before you in the future, so.
Thank you. No further comments, and if we can move to item 12, adjournment. Good. You go.
Pick someone.
Pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Steph.